Ricketts, real talk, real people, real issues, real events. Tonight we have joining us is Deanna Rinaldi, photographer. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, Tanya. Really excited to be here.
Yes, it's gonna be a calm, peaceful one tonight because I like the topic that is something dear to you is infusing our world with empathy. And I think considering the fact that we are going through some very challenging times, opportunistic times, I think it's really a good time to really understand empathy or be able to understand it deeper and use it in a time where we do all, I think, can move towards a place of healing. So, Deanna, just explain to us, what does that mean for you and what does that look like in your world? Share with us.
Well, as a photographer, I photograph people, but I also photograph nature in the city, for example. That's what I've been doing since COVID hit, is actually going out into nature in our world, just as it appears outside my doorstep or in my neighborhood, or even just driving to different places in the city. So, empathy for me is really connected actually to both, obviously, people, because it's where we're starting. That's the starting point, right? Whereas empathy is really a call to connect further with people, connect with yourself, and then that connection is then brought forward to our environment and our world and keeping it or recovering sort of what we've lost, and maintaining what we have, and just trying to keep environment top of mind because um, it's really a pressing issue these days. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So empathy is like it's really a call inward. It's you want to go inward. It's an attempt to understand other by reflecting inward and trying to be open to discovering like others' experiences.
Mm.
Yeah. So we want to connect to something or someone's experience by sort of being still, not being still, but reflective on an experience that perhaps we've had. We're not really trying to solve problems, we're trying to sort of separate our pain from others' pain so that we can listen and understand and be very curious about what another person is going through, about what the earth is going through, about just about anything. So, in doing so, then we're able to connect. We're able to connect to other people, able to see our deeper connection with our world and how we're going to choose to make a difference in this environmental crisis. So,
Mm.
that's
I
kind
think it's so loaded, I don't know where to begin.
of.
I like to say here, there,
Yeah.
where. I
Yeah.
like, the empathy piece of detaching, removing ourselves, our pain from somebody else's, and showing up, understanding them, and being curious about them.
Hmm.
Uh, because we live in a world of such judgment and criticism, and we lose our ability in that moment to show up, to listen, as you talk about, and we lose the opportunity in that moment to connect to another.
Yes. That's that's precisely the importance, I guess, of empathy. It is sort of losing the judgment, losing the criticism, because your world and your relationships will widen as opposed to contract. Like they will contract if you close yourself off to going into solution based thinking. And I mean, I'm often very I'm guilty of doing that because you want to help somebody with their pain, so you start saying, well, maybe we can do this, maybe we can, but that's like coming from a point of fear,
Mm.
right? It's coming from a fearful place. It's coming from a point of even confusion, for myself. I can only speak for myself here. So, that's what I guess slowing down in our world is a way of also relieving ourselves from loneliness. Because when you're not empathic, when you're not trying to understand somebody else's world and the world at large and our environment and what it's all going through, then there's not really a way to get out of this loneliness that I think many of us feel. I mean, even though we're doing this on Zoom, which is a wonderful, wonderful platform, it's so great. Um, you know, it's not the same as sort of being in person with a
Right,
people.
right.
Right? It's not like, you do need the one-on-one contact. You do need the deeper conversations. I mean, I think this is also like, I mean, this is amazing that we actually get to talk about this topic, right? So I think I'm losing my train of thought, but it's basically wanting to expand your world, to be connected with others instead of going into a solution based um, way of thinking and or criticism or so it's slowing down to be with those feelings that you have, but sort of acknowledging them, and by acknowledging them you're putting them to the side that so you can be open to other people and what
Well, it's funny because you talked about the fear based of when we're solution based. Somebody comes to us and, I come to you, Deanna, and talk to you, and all of a sudden you're ready to jump in. How can we solve this? I don't like seeing you in pain, but the pain that you don't like seeing me in is the pain that you don't want to feel yourself, and the reflective and how we toss
exactly
it around and we play tennis with it.
right.
And we don't understand that when we become empathetic and we stand alongside somebody and we hold space, our bodies are always looking to heal the earth. We are nature. I say when we die, we fertilize the earth and,
Yes.
we turn to dust. And we're always, as nature, we're always looking to heal. There's a storm, there's sunshine, but
Yes.
and we take away in that moment through problem solving in that moment, and every situation is different, but we
Yes.
take away the opportunity for healing to take place where it's working through our bodies.
Right.
And even for our own selves, it allows us to be still, as you talk about slow down and to be still, to allow ourselves to breathe and remove ourselves from the situation, but just stand alongside. And then collectively, somehow, healing happens reciprocal
Yes.
without the other person knowing or without you knowing. It's just the way it works. I
Yeah.
don't know how to explain it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's really interesting because it's what I found this really amazing podcast recently. Um, and now it's escaping my mind, but I think I have it written down. And it's based out of Berkeley, and um, and I there was a guest on the show named Casper Terkuil. I have a hard time pronouncing his name, but he wrote a book called The Power of Ritual. And so he talked about how um, when he would come home from work, he would basically stand beside this tree that was just outside of his home. And just by doing that, he recognized that it was a symbiotic relationship that we're having, that he has a relationship with the tree and the tree has a relationship with him. So you know that's where the connection is that when you're noticing, and he was he just by stopping, and he was actually listening, really, right. He came to understand, well, you know um, I'm breathing oxygen and I'm breathing out the CO2, and then the air and the trees kind of doing the same thing, and we're here in a collaborative space.
Mm.
So really, we're in collaboration with each other. We're in collaboration with nature.
Hmm.
right? That it's yeah, that it is a relationship that we're having. It's not just that we're using nature. Um, and yeah, this, I mean, honestly, this podcast is like so amazing. I got to figure out if I can find them. It's The Art of Happiness, I think it's called. Um, but, oh, here it is, The Science of Happiness. And Dacher Keltner is the psychologist who does the podcast. And he just has, like, in the last couple of podcasts, he had these amazing people that were on his show talking and were actually experts on the environment. And this one wonderful woman who's actually um, she is located in Surrey, BC, and she's a PhD like in environment. And she talked about this idea that we have that, um, well, she talked about Darwin and natural selection. And I think what she is kind of known for is that she's changed the perception on how um, well, that the only thing that Darwin, I mean, there are a lot of things that he did, but that the focus has always been on his idea of natural selection, and she wanted to shift that kind of perspective to one of this where nature collaborates with itself. And it's just so fascinating.
Well, it's funny because when you talk about nature collaborates with itself, it reminds me of that whole idea of human beings when, this new big movement of meditation has now
Oh yes.
surfaced.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's been around for centuries, but now this is a way of living now. We're embracing it as a way of life, a part of our culture.
Mm-hmm.
And it's collaborating with nature by being still and becoming one, and hearing and listening and healing, and being compassionate, like you wake up in a whole different state.
Right.
And your heart is just infused with love.
Yes.
And it's quite fascinating,
Mm-hmm.
that whole. I like the way that you put the whole collaborative piece into it,
Thank you.
because we are collaborating and we're creating with nature, and we as human beings, I think we lose sight of the fact that we're part of the ecosystem.
Right, exactly. Well, that's so. Well, I'm glad you brought up the compassion part of empathy because compassion can only come after empathic discovery, from what I've understood. I'm not an expert, like I said, but um, and so the thing about compassion and kindness and sympathy is that it though that thing those things don't necessarily, they're not a call to action necessarily for people. So it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm gonna, now that I've empathized with the planet and the ecosystem, I feel compassion. Oh, I feel like, oh, this is not good, and how am I going to help it? That it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to do something about it. But what it does do is it raises your awareness and your consciousness to a place where, well, now you know, so you have a choice. So now, are you going to just say, I can't deal with it? Or are you going to say, well, what kind of small things can I just start to do that, every day, that if everybody did, um, it would make a huge impact? So that's so interesting that you did bring up compassion at that point because
It's
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 just not
nice,
given.
right? And I like the way that you're putting it, in the sense of, like, it's that awareness that comes into play.
Yes.
And with that awareness that comes into play, and that choice, now we have a choice.
Right.
And what the steps are, there's so many simple steps that we can take in our everyday life that will raise our vibrations, that will shift our energies, that will create a new level of consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
one person at a time.
Right.
If everybody just focused on them being their change, that actually, those, it's like, baby steps lead to big steps, and
Exactly.
everybody, we're part of the bigger system. And I said, if it's changing one thought into a more loving thought, a
Yes.
healthier thought,
Mm-hmm.
a more compassionate thought,
Yes.
all those um, higher vibrational feelings, we create change. When we can look through the lens of love and empathy and compassion, when we
Yes.
can open ourselves up to vulnerability, when we
Exactly.
can allow our souls to feel that as we're looking through the lens of our eyes, for instance, at somebody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I want to, for the audience, I want to be very clear. It's not about letting people walk over you or bully you. It's still about taking care of yourself
Mm-hmm.
and still being able to have the ability to look through the lens of compassion and empathy and love.
Well, it's actually, you are taking care of yourself by being empathic, because when we are not empathic, we actually create a loneliness and disconnect for ourselves.
Mm.
And in being in the feel, I mean, it's one thing to be alone and choose to be alone, because we all need alone time. We need to reflect. We need to, just think about our life, or just need some distance from people sometimes. I mean, we all can take connection in different amounts and different, right? And that depends who you're connecting with. So, um,
Whole other conversation.
yeah. Um, so the thing is that when we're not empathic, we're not making connections with people. We're not making connections with the earth. We're not making connections with the environment. And so then it creates this loneliness. And in being lonely, it makes it very, very difficult to actually um, sort of make a choice to be helpful, because it's very difficult for you to help or to want to be doing something that's going to be helpful to the planet or to other people, or to listen, because when we're lonely, we get into states of panic, we get into states of apathy. Apathy is a big part of it. um, it really makes sense if you think about it. You really don't want to do anything when you feel sad and alone and you think you're the only one who's experiencing something.
It's a state of being functionally, I call it being in a state of functional depression,
Oh, right.
because your whole brain chemistry changes, the plasma of your, like, everything starts to change
Yes.
from a physiological
Yeah.
perspective.
Right. Right.
And when you talk about this whole loneliness and connection, empathy is one of the gateways to connection. When
Yes.
we look at it from that perspective, I always say, we miss a piece in between, because we recognize as babies require touch, require their development is dependent on touch,
Yes.
um, interaction,
Hmm.
expression,
Yes.
tone,
Hmm.
voice, like
Yes.
all the senses
Yeah.
are essential for the development of a child,
Hmm.
a baby. And we know that when they are not stimulated through all those senses, they need
Yes.
to see what a sad expression looks like, somebody being
Yeah.
empathetic to them. So
Yes.
it creates all those connections. It sends different signals to the brain. It lights up different pieces of the brain,
Exactly.
sends that feeling to the heart. It changes the cellular structure in their body,
Hmm.
all the rest of that. When they're put in the grass and they're
Yeah.
left on the grass to feel and to
Yes.
the coolness of the grass, all the rest of that fun stuff. And then we go over to the elderly and we somehow bring it back in their life, the
Yes.
same stimuli that babies require, children require, we bring that over into the elderly stage of life
Yes.
cycle. But
Yes.
somehow in the in between,
Yes.
we eliminate it.
Yes. We did. We're stuck running. We're stuck. We're trying to. I don't know. It's all the mores. Like, we need to do this. We need to do that. We need to we need to make a living. That's, of course, we need to make a living. That's, you need to. There's no question. But it's like, to what degree are these needs and to what degree are they wants?
Well, we don't build it into the lifestyle somehow. So when a child is born, we build it into the lifestyle. We
Right.
ensure that those needs are met based on their
Right.
schedules and
Yes.
built into their routines.
Yes.
And then as the elderly gets older, it's built into their routines.
Yes.
But we haven't come to that point where it's really ingrained in our culture, in our society, where it's built into our routines in the in between.
Yes. Yes. And I mean, there's so many factors. I mean, like, technology has really changed our lives in the last, whatever, 7 to 8 years, with the onslaught of the phone, and, children being on that, and all this scrolling, and our inability to sort of detach from that. And I mean, it's made it very difficult. Um,
The kids aren't empathetic as much
yes,
as they could be
yes,
because they don't need to be.
yes.
They haven't exercised the muscles. And even for those of us, myself included,
Hmm.
that didn't grow up with the technology being at the forefront of our life,
Yes,
technology, and I support technology. Technology is great.
yes.
um,
It has its positives and its place.
Absolutely.
Yes,
There's a lot of magnetic chaotic interference with it. However, what it does is we've become so desensitized, and how quickly it can desensitize you
yes,
to lose touch because you actually don't have to interact with people as much as you would have before. So we become almost cold
yes.
to some degree, not because we want to, not because we're bad people, not because we mean to.
Hmm.
It's just the way that we've navigated towards.
Yes,
Um, and our only way back is to have that compassion and empathy towards ourselves, that we've gone in this direction, forgiven ourselves, but find a way to incorporate into our lifestyle and balance out
yes.
existing
Hmm.
um, with the two simultaneously and harmoniously.
Yes, exactly. Well said. Yeah. Um, it's funny too, because I think, like, what's kind of ironic is that if you're not connecting with people, you can still connect with nature. And um, in this same podcast, there's a woman named Melissa Marcel, and she is an environmental psychologist, and she's doing a study, or has done studies, on um, trees, and but urban trees, so trees that are like wherever you're walking around, like, how, and she talks about the proximity of trees. So she did a study on, like, if there was a tree 100 meters from your home, that was basically the radius. So she thought, okay, I'm going to do this study, and we're going to see the impact that having trees within our close proximity has on us. And she said, because the thing is that this is almost more impactful than us going out into nature, because um, our home is where we live. So we're always going to go home. And sometimes we can't actually get out into nature. We can't take that 15-minute drive or 20-minute drive. And so what she discovered was that um, she did say, especially in, like, lower socioeconomic status people, that they were prescribed far fewer antidepressants if they had access to, like, a tree that was very close to where they lived. And it's kind of amazing when you think about that.
Well, when you think about, I don't know if you saw in Italy, It was a big thing on the internet where Italy has this apartment building, and on the outside of the apartment building, it's all greenery.
Yes, I've seen that. It was on a documentary I watched.
How it was beautiful, it's stunning, it's innovative, it's out of the box.
Yes.
And I can only imagine when you're talking about, like you're more connected. You're now figuring out a way to collaborate to
Yes.
keep understand that we are in a forward, advanced technological society, but how do we keep the core essence of that piece of nature, which is us,
Yes.
connected?
Yes. Yes.
And I thought it was such a neat way for them to do that.
That was
This is,
amazing.
yes, this is what we do. When we talk about the relationship with, let's stick with trees, plants,
Mm-hmm.
flowers,
Yes.
I think to myself, you know, I always imagine, it's for me personally, I'm not a big green thumb person.
Yes.
When we got our house, I was like, just give me whatever the least maintenance it is. I'll
Yes.
go and buy some flowers and stick them up, you know,
Yes.
every year. But I look forward every single year to getting these flowers, cookie cutter flowers every year, very simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
I look forward to watering them.
Oh, yes.
I look forward to, whoops, that's okay.
Sorry.
We'll talk real people real issues. Real that stuff. I look forward to watering them because I feel like I'm contributing to their thirst for water, just like we like to drink a glass of water.
Yes.
So I don't have the feeling like, oh, let's just water the plants. I
Mm-hmm.
actually feel connected, that my existence to quench their thirst is vital.
Right.
And in return, they bless me with the honor of blooming like the flowers. They just grow in abundance. And
Yes.
I get to see that and watch that and marvel and experience their beauty.
Yes.
And I'm saying it like this because this is genuinely how I feel every single time.
Yes.
I'm like, wow, for somebody that doesn't like to have a green thumb,
Yes.
but I feel like we are in a relationship together.
Yes.
That I'm making sure when it's really hot outside, I make sure that they're mist twice a day.
Yes.
Because I'm like, you know what? There is hot out here. You probably require misting, for instance.
Yes.
And
Well, yeah, that's pretty empathic when you say.
yes, well, because I just hold a lot of love. Like I hold it is because I pretend I'm the plant.
Yes.
But I feel it's. I know it's. I'm almost on live TV admitting this, but it's so true. Like I just genuinely have this sense of wow, like oh, I
Yes,
just
the awe.
and I'll make gulping noises. I'll say to my girls, I'll say, because we all share in the responsibility of watering this our plants, and I'm like, I wonder if they're thirsty. And I'll make the gulping noise, and like well, did you guys drink your water today? Well, I wonder if they drank theirs. You know, so it's just it is empathic. My husband, when we moved in to our house, we have a single skinny tree with sticks on the side to hold it up.
Yes.
And I kid you not, every day he sat there with a garden hose and he watered this tree.
Yes.
And he loved this tree.
Yes.
And I was like, I used to laugh at him. So he's like, yeah, it turned out to be the biggest tree on the street,
Wow.
blooming leaves upon leaves.
Oh, wow. That's
Beautiful.
amazing.
It is. So there's I think it also with the empathy, it's the level of appreciation. I think
Yeah.
it is the honor to be holding a position that you get to care for something.
Yes.
I get to take care of you. What an honor.
Yes, it is an honor. And then to see what comes of it creates awe. And
Right.
awe and wonder is the thing that keeps us hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if we don't have awe and wonder, it's pretty easy to sink down into, pessimism and apathy and cynicism. And so, yeah, when you can see the miraculous things that come out of nature, you're making a connection. You feel
Absolutely. A
right.
girlfriend had said to
Wonderful.
me,
Mm.
it's not one-sided though, and I always have to remember this.
Yes.
She says it's not one-sided because I'm sure those plants are feeling you on a vibrational level, feeling honored to have you as a part of in their space, and
Yes.
care for them like that. So it's, as you talk about that whole, it's like the cycle. It's symbiotic. Like it just it continues to give and give and give and give in
Yes.
that moment, right?
Yeah. And it's quite amazing because the woman from Surrey, BC that I was telling her name's Suzanne Simard, and she was talking, so she's the one who was talking about Darwin. And so she talked about how, the canopy of a tree is basically mirrored in the root system down below. And I think that's why she was talking about Darwin and his belief that forests actually collaborate. And she has this example of this Douglas fir, like, because I don't know all these technical things, but um, there's a ponderosa pine, in theory, will replace a Douglas fir at lower elevations. So basically, she described how they did a study. She studied how the root system those root systems communicated with one another. So, which one was it? The Douglas fir was sent a lot of carbon over to the ponderosa pine because it knew it was dying and was in distress. And so there are all these different pathways and the ways that they communicate with each other, and collaborate with one another that we don't even realize.
I
And
think that's amazing.
yeah, it's unbelievable. Like, I don't know, isn't that awe-inspiring? To me, it is. It's like, really? Like, they're communicating. They know that one is going to be extinct, so they're pushing all of the carbon to that other plant, and it's through some jasmonic acid pathway, which I have no idea what that means. But it's just incredible that she knows that she figured that out, and they have like these enzymes that protect the other from being injured, and they're sharing.
Well,
Share.
that's just like having an animal, right? Primarily
Right.
dogs. It's like when they understand when you're feeling sad, or
Yeah.
they understand it, and they come over and they're empathetic,
Right.
and it's just that again, we're nature,
Yes.
and they have a very high intuition,
Mm-hmm.
and feeling towards human beings.
Mm-hmm. I've never had a pet myself. I mean, I know, um, like, just through my kids' experiences with their friends' pets, and I mean, it's quite amazing. Do you have a pet?
I have a cat, and
Okay.
she's a runt. She's a feral cat, so she's a very
Okay.
wild cat, overprotective.
Yes.
So if anybody comes in our space, she's very protective. We call her our little dog because she nips. So she's not your usual cat, but she's this. Every time people come over, they're like, "Oh, you're so cute. You have a kitten," and I'm like, "Stay away." And they're like, "No, no, no. I love animals." And she's this little runt,
Yes.
all of maybe 8 pounds, and
Wow, that's
you know,
tiny. Yes.
but if she saw Deanna walk towards Tanya, you better believe you'll be like, oh, maybe we'll leave your cat. Like, people come over and they're like, your cat's crazy. Um, but she just loves us. Like, she
Yes.
just, yeah, she's just protective of us.
Yes.
My
Don't worry, I won't come near.
I love everybody's expression when they come over. They're like, she's so cute. And I'm like, be careful. And
Yes.
they're like, no, I've got animal. And I'm like, this is a different animal. Trust me. I
Yes.
said, you're in her house and you're in her territory, and she feels threatened. So,
Right. That's incredible.
yeah.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have empathy towards anybody. Just,
Well, maybe towards you because she's trying to protect you,
yeah, yeah, very
right?
much so. Very,
Yeah.
very.
Yeah.
Um, people will sit at our kitchen table and she's nipping at their feet. you know, and
Yeah.
okay, well, maybe we should put her away for a little bit. But so yeah, so let's talk about your photography now.
Okay.
What you're able to capture the roof photography. I know that we had a conversation offline, and
Yes.
our conversation offline, I found it, very soothing. Your approach to your photography, not just from the artistry of nature perspective, but even as
Yes.
human beings. Well, nature as human beings. Um, your approach was understanding that people were in front of your camera, and
Yes.
you wanted them, you understood their vulnerability in that moment,
Right.
and your responsibility in that moment was what?
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, um, I think it's not an easy thing to, um, I mean, I think a lot of us have had bad experiences with being photographed or seeing our photographs, and, and we're constantly bombarded with, you know, media that shows these amazing people, and I think we just have imbibed that, and it's very hard to shake it. And the thing is that, um, there's a way to be posed that makes you look more there are flattering ways to be in front of a camera. And so I think, um, like, as a photographer, I understand that people might be fearful because they don't know what the outcome's going to be. They don't understand what's going to happen when they're here being photographed. So, I mean, I think the biggest part is to, again, connect with the person before they even show up. You talk on the phone with them. You consult with them. You try to understand what it is they are hoping to experience and what they want to get out of being photographed. That's like the first part, is actually spending time.
So
Spending
you're
time.
creating this connection.
Yeah, that's the whole point, I think. I mean, I feel like in some ways, I don't know, the word, you need to connect with people, is that, it's overused, but is it, it may be overused, but are people doing it? Do you want to really connect with that person so that they can then be a little vulnerable with you, so that their guard does come down? I mean, I think it's much harder for some people than others, for sure. And, but it's
And do you
something,
find that, so do you find that an individual has the ability to connect with you, but then when they get in front of the lens of your camera,
yeah.
all of a sudden they change back and get
Yes,
vulnerable?
yes. Yes, that's very difficult. Like, that's where, you know, like, photographers get a bad rap sometimes, but it's a very hard job to, you've got a million things going through your head that you're hoping are just going to sort of come together. You've got the light, you've got the posing, you've got a nervous person maybe, but you don't know exactly why that person's nervous. So, yeah, that happens where, all of a sudden, like, we're having a great connection, and then the camera comes up, and you've got this weird, like, tight smile, or, just like, oh, it stiffens up. So, it really is a process, that does, like, especially with a person who is nervous, it actually is a process that takes some time. So, it's really weird because there are a couple of different types of people. So even if they're nervous, or, like, you might get them right away, like, get the shots right away, and then the ones, like, in the first 15 are great, and then the ones after that are not as good, and you think that they're more relaxed. It's weird. It's very mysterious at times. Or then you have all the person that, this seems like to be the normal process for me, where, oh, the first 50 shots are like, oh, nervous, 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 and then you start to see where the guard
They
comes
open
down.
up.
Yeah,
Yes.
they open up, and but you know it requires a lot of patience, and you have to persevere, and it's the same thing that we're talking about, that empathy where you're staying open to that person's experience, right?
Hmm.
Um, so
I like
that
that you're saying open to that person's experience, because really you're respecting their vulnerability behind the lens of your camera.
yes, yes, and you're trying to help them be more vulnerable, really, right? Because the nervousness and is I think the nervousness is coming from a place of I whoever, I don't know who it would
It's
be.
the judgment. I think it's the
Judgment.
judgment.
Yeah.
I really think it's that inner judgment
Yeah.
that comes through as human beings that we're not enough. So
Yeah,
by
we're
the
not
time we
enough.
get to that camera, we judged ourselves way before we got into that in front of that
Yeah.
lens.
Yeah.
I'm not photogenic. How am I going to look? Does my body look? I have a good side versus a bad side.
Yes,
It's
yes.
still an error. The judgment sets in.
Yes.
And it's the fear of what is it going to look like? Am I going to like it? Am I going to hate it? Like it's all these things. So yes, photographers really have a challenge to really open somebody up and break that down and help them fall in love with themselves while doing a shoot. Like it's quite a
Yes.
juggling act, right?
Yeah. It's quite a job. Uh, but when you do it and when you see the photographs after, like maybe at the moment or at the end of it, you're kind of exhausted and you're like, wow, I don't know if I got anything good. Oh my gosh, I get fearful. I'm like, oh, you know, because it's really funny. It's the creative process, but it's like where you're so into it that, I mean, there's some shots where oh, I know I got that one, or I know I got that one. And then you can get into this state where you're just sort of going with the flow, and something kind of takes over you, and you are so in the moment or the creative flow that all suddenly it's like, wow, I don't know if I got anything. And so you're just like, it's like that was so great and awesome, but oh my gosh, did I do all the things that I needed to in order to, make a nice portrait, a portrait that this person's going to be happy with? Usually it works out. It doesn't always, but I would say the majority of it does.
It works out right.
It
Yeah.
does. It does work out.
Quite a So
Yeah.
talk to us a little bit. You've got two projects on the go here. Where
Yes.
it infuses. You use your photography and your art as a way to infuse empathy into the world. What Talk to us about your is it portraiture?
Portraiture. Yeah. Sure.
Yes. Okay. Talk to us. What is that, and what is that in your line of work?
um, well, with the portraiture work that I do, um, I mean, I love to photograph women, and I'm trying to basically give them an experience of, feeling great about themselves,
Mm,
coming out on the other side, seeing themselves as beautiful.
mm,
And, that's what we try to do here. And the thing is that you, like, you know, if I just sit in front of the camera, I'm not going to look super great necessarily, right? So, I try to, that's where I come in. I tell the person how to pose. I help them with their hair and their makeup. And it's sort of like there are a lot of steps to the process. And the more that you put into it, I mean, people always, not always, but a lot of people are like, can you just get this over with? And it's like this, can't you just take a photograph in a second? And it's like, well, the thing is that, well, you're only going to get what you're going to get if you know, if you're in a hurry, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. You need to spend the time. It takes time. So, I consult with, doing their makeup. You don't have to have your makeup done, but if you want it, that can make people also feel confident. And then you want to pick, you help them pick clothes that are going to make them feel great about, you want to wear something that makes you feel great. So you're doing all of these things along the way so that when it comes time to posing, even if you are nervous, you've got like a few things on your side that are going to make you feel good about yourself.
Right.
And
Well,
then,
thank you, because I love the fact that there's a purpose behind that, primarily your target with women, because I think women, I don't know why, but it's a culture with media bombarding everything. We're working diligently to embrace
yes,
us as being
yes.
enough, our bodies, our features, our looks, everything. So to have somebody like you show up, wanting us to, helping us and assisting us to embrace ourselves through your work, I think is phenomenal. So thank you.
Oh gosh, you're welcome. It's really a joy. Like I've had people see their photographs and think and cry actually. It's like, wow, I didn't know I was beautiful. And it's like you're beautiful. I think that's the thing. Like I feel like I don't know, I've kind of always been like this. Even as a kid, I used to, I always used to feel like I could see the beauty in a person. It's not,
The
it's,
empath in you,
I
right?
guess so. Yeah, I really feel that. It's like, you know, um, yeah, it's just a wonderful experience to be able to have that person see themselves in a different way, in a new way. And to realize that there's a lot that goes on in those magazines. There's a lot. There's a
For
lot.
sure. I remember I did an ad for one of the guests on the show, and you know how the behind the scene process works. I send you your campaign. So I sent her a campaign, and
Yeah.
her response was, I'm intimidated by her. And I was like, wow, she was intimidated by her own self when she saw it,
Wow. That's amazing.
So I said, that's you. So I
Yeah, isn't that
it's time for you to
incredible?
get to know who that person is
Yeah,
who intimidates you.
that's amazing. That's a that's a really great revelation.
Yes, absolutely. I thought I was in that moment. I was so, it was one of those moments where you're like, thank God I'm in this line of work, because I get the beauty of, the
Yeah.
privilege of hearing that feedback is like, wow, this
Yeah,
person is
yeah.
intimidated by themselves. They're
Yes.
playing small their whole life. This powerful person is now showing up in front of her through this
Right.
campaign. And I just thought, oh, wow, this is phenomenal. It's
Yeah,
very,
it's really transformative, right?
yes, absolutely.
Transforms your thinking. It feels like that's what I even hope that people come away more confident because you feel transformed. That
Absolutely.
that you see that when you're loving yourself because you're caring about how you look. I mean, not like just not on a superficial level, but you're doing self care. You're
You're
like,
falling in love with you.
yeah,
I
you
think
deserve to have this experience. You
yes,
deserve to look good. You deserve to wear clothes that make you feel good, you
yes.
know? So, yeah.
Every woman should go out there and do a photo shoot. Years ago, I don't know if you remember, there was like that studio that was in the malls that was Glam Shots or something, like Glam or something.
Oh, I think I've heard of that place.
Yeah, like it was years ago. Like I'm dating
Okay.
myself. This would have been like 30 something years ago. So, um, but it's almost like that. Like I think that women will benefit from going out there, and men too. I'm just
Yeah,
speaking
for
for
sure. Yeah.
photograph women, but definitely will benefit from whether they have there. There doesn't have to be a reason to go out there and take portraits of yourself,
Yes.
and to see you from a different perspective.
Yeah. And a lot of people start to think, oh, is that narcissistic? Well, if that's all you ever thought about was yourself and how you look, and that's the only thing your life revolves around, well, maybe that might be considered narcissistic, but it can be used as a tool for growth, for, you
Oh,
know,
I think I'm looking at it from the place of girls, because I think to
yeah,
myself, so many women, they have a hard time, and not women, just as humans, we have a hard time
yeah,
looking in the mirror at ourselves.
Yes.
You know, we have a lot of negative self chatter going on. We're
Yeah.
working diligently as human beings to do this work,
Yes.
to do the wonderful inner work, the
Yes.
self help work,
Hmm.
the loving thyself work.
Yeah.
We're looking to change thinking patterns, all the rest of that. So to go out there and be able to embrace that, it's just a tool, I feel, that's going to enhance and complement the process of
Yes.
transformation.
Yeah, for sure. Because you see yourself in a different way that you might not have before, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so there you guys have it. Then so that is at deannarinaldi.com. That's where they can find you there. Now talk to us about, you've got Deanna Rinaldi Photog.
Yes.
Talk
It's
to,
at deannarinelli.ca is the website, and it's
yep.
actually an online store. So, I mean, I haven't been able to photograph people. Um, so it's been, quite strange. But, luckily, I mean, I enjoy photographing a lot of things. Um, so I just made it a point to start photographing more frequently. And it's really important as a practice to go out and do that. And, I have a friend who's a fabulous photographer. He's awesome. And so what we started to do was go on weekly photographing trips. We just sort of, where are we going today? So we pick a, we just pick a place. It could be a park. It could be the lake. It could be anywhere. But I found that I was really drawn to nature. So it's, you know, trees and so basically what I figured out was that I wasn't so in love with Toronto anymore. I was feeling really like cynical and blasé about it. And of course, it was winter, and it's difficult here in the winter. It gets super gray. And I just thought this would be a way for me to fall in love with the city I live in again. And it really, really worked. It worked. I was able to find beauty just about anywhere. And I feel like that love for just being where I am has really been reignited. So, and then, that was in the winter. And then, wow, then came spring. And it was like a real spring, like a slow spring, a spring where the flowers would stay, not where the heat would drop the flowers to the ground, like the magnolias to the ground in a day, and then you would miss photographing them or seeing them or enjoying them or smelling them. And it's been like one beautiful bloom after another here. And so yeah, it's just been really wonderful. And, I called, so basically what we decided was that we would create a project for ourselves. And so, because when you have a project, you start to think differently about your photography because you take a lot of images. And so, what you're trying to do is find a common thread, amongst your images and sort of be selective about what you're going to put out there. And so, yeah, so that's what I came up with. And it's really funny that after doing this project, I called it Nature's Idyllic Call, right?
Okay.
So, so basically, it was actually, it's like a nostalgic return or to the way I want nature or the earth or the environment to be before it was, it's gone through this degradation. And so it's funny because, nostalgia has this interesting Greek meaning called homesick. And so I find it super ironic that here I was hearing about this study on how trees within 100 meters of your home, right, have this incredible impact on you. even more so than taking a trek. I mean, that has far-reaching impacts for sure, but
But just the simplicity, if you can't get, and I like the way you said it,
yes,
you're not, if you're not in a position to get there or it's not in your area, just by having it,
yeah,
you know, having green space within your area
yes,
changes the entire atmosphere.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
you know, we all
exactly.
know that trees help us breathe.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
you know, just having that helps us breathe cleaner. Of course, you're going to reduce your depression level because you're now breathing and
Yes,
you're looking. There's something like for me, I can go into the produce aisle
yes,
and I look at all the colors of the produce, the
yes,
apples and the peppers and everything.
mm-hmm.
It does something to me. It lights me up. And,
Yes, yeah,
you know, so trees, it's like, you know, when you're looking and smelling and, you know, so you don't have to live in a completely green area, but just having access to even one
yes,
absolutely has a positive impact.
yeah. It's incredible. Yeah, so, and then there you go, and then hopefully in some way that alleviates your loneliness, and then you're making that connection. You're sort of coming full circle here, right? Where you're then feeling like, oh, I'm connected to something bigger, and what's my impact going to be, and how can I make these small changes that are, you know, going to reduce our carbon emissions, and you know, it it's been a really good experience, and the yeah, I mean, I think it's a process, and I mean, the images that I have on my website are all images that I've taken, within, I mean, I can't, not more than a 30-kilometer radius. Some are like the one that I've called, um, it's called Nostalgia, actually. It's of these roses that were in my backyard at sunset. And you would never know that by looking at it, you know? And it's kind of like, you know, it's funny because for a while I was like, oh, I feel like a bit of a fraud because, I didn't really have to go very far to take this photograph.
But I think it's more the intention of giving people the opportunity.
Yeah.
It's not about location, it's about capturing that image and giving people the opportunity to visually look and connect to something naturistic.
Yeah,
Because looking at a
absolutely.
picture that's naturistic has a lot of healing properties in that.
Yes,
And it changes a lot of the senses. So, you
exactly.
know, capturing that on photography, I think, is equally as important.
Yes.
So,
I'm not, like, I have a lot to learn as far as landscape and nature photography go. And, that's what the practicing is about, going out on a regular basis. And so that is like, I get to create and be in nature while creating.
lovely.
Yeah, which totally just fills me up. It just fills me up. It's just like the quintessential kind of thing to do that really does make me feel connected. So, um,
Wonderful. Well, thank you. We've got about a minute left
okay.
on the show. It goes by very
It
quickly.
does. I was like, oh my gosh, are we going to be able to fill up an hour? I'm so scared.
You
uh-huh.
know, I thank you for, you know, sharing with us all the little nuggets and just really showing us how we can collaborate more and share and be more in unison with nature around us. As nature being other human beings, nature being the trees, like plant based, the earth, the dirt, everything.
Yes.
Um, you know, thank you for sharing that. Uh, Everyone, you can find Deanna at deannaranelli.ca and also deannaranelli.com. And that's Deanna, Dianarenelli.
Renelli.
And Nellii.
Yeah, two E's. Yeah. Well,
um,
thank you so much, Tanya.
yes.
It's been
So
wonderful. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
yeah, it's been nice. It's been nice. So thank you. So thank you everyone for tuning in to Tanya Talks here this evening. Real talk, real people, real issues, real events. Join us next week we will have Andrea Austin on with her partner, just sharing with us the success of their relationship, the Love Experiment Project. If you are looking to take your life to the next level, please go to thetanyaexperience.com. I'm ready to work with you. Good night, everyone, from here at Tanya Talks, and good night, Deanna. Take care.
Okay, good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.